in the dying embers of human existence. As the asteroid, a behemoth the size of Texas, hurtles relentlessly toward Earth, the world braces for an apocalyptic end. Deep beneath the bunker, a refuge plunges into the bowels of the earth. Here the chosen gather, their purpose clear, to preserve the very soul of our civilization. The 35 and 70 millimeter prints that encapsulate the magic, the emotion, and the dreams of generations past. These masterpieces, each frame a testament to the human spirit, are carefully cataloged and cradled in the cavernous confines of the bunker. Perhaps there was room for more. For friends and family yearning for salvation, but sacrifices must be made. The movie nerds stand united, the keepers of a flame, promising a future where the art of storytelling endures, transcending the boundaries of time and space. God help us all.
Welcome to Back to the Frame Rate, part of the Western Media Podcast Network. Join us as we watch and discuss films on VOD and streaming platforms, deliberating on whether each one is worthy of salvation or destined for destruction in the face of the impending asteroid apocalypse. You can find more episodes of this podcast at backtotheframerate.com, where you can subscribe and share our show, and find us on our socials at Back to the Frame Rate. I'm Nathan Shore, and accompanying me are the extraordinary movie mavens, Brianna Butterworth, Sam Cole, who's back today, and returning today is our dear friend and Back to the Frame Rate original OG hostess with the mostest, Eli Escobar.
Welcome back.
What a reunion! Sam, you've been gone for like 3 weeks. Ellie is back as a guest tonight, and here we are reviewing this
Awesome
movie here. Can't wait to catch up with you. But before we get into that, I have a really important question I have to ask you. This is a really simple one. It's a simple multiple choice question for each of you. All right. You ready for this?
Oh,
it's
okay.
important. It's important.
Okay.
That sets the stage, that sets the tone for the show. All right. You're browsing Amazon for a good deal on household cleaning supplies.
Mm-hmm.
When the delivery truck comes to your house, there's a mix-up, and the Ark of the Covenant accidentally ended up on your doorstep, courtesy of some major warehouse mix-up. I'm just assuming that they share the same warehouse. That's all I can guess. But what do you do next? A, you call the government and hope they're available for a pickup? Or B, do you sell it on eBay and see what kind of bids you get? Ancient mystical Ark slightly used. Or C, try to open it yourself, armed with sunglasses and a lot of sunscreen. Or D, donate it to a museum and become a local hero, but secretly regret not opening it. These are your only 4 options.
I would.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Sam,
you go. No, please.
I was going to go in order of that we're going to go tonight.
Absolutely.
Ellie?
I'm going to open it because I like that. Yeah, I'm a risk taker. I'm going to open that thing. I want to know what's inside. And if I like it, I may never secretly keep it. I'm just going to secretly keep it.
Okay. Sam, what would you do?
And I don't know if I can say the same thing, but what I would do is I would not look at it, but I would invite a whole bunch of people to my house that I don't like, open it, have it kill them all off, and then I'd just be like, good.
All your Nazi friends?
I have no Nazi friends.
Okay.
No, I have no Nazi friends.
Okay.
I just meant like coworkers that I, people in life that I wouldn't mind if they melted and stuff, but
Got it.
yes.
I think I just missed the beginning of this story. Was it a bomb inside?
No, the Ark of
the Ark of the Covenant. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah, no, I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep it.
Are you going to open it though?
I'm going to open it, but I hope that, I'm going to have some kind of glasses on.
Yeah. Glasses and sunscreen. That was
of course. Yeah, the sunglasses. Yep, there you go.
Okay.
I'm still going to open it. Yep. Guys are so brave.
I'm going to give it to a museum and then be a little sad about it. But maybe I'll make some cool museum friends and they'll let me check out the other exhibits. I don't know.
Okay. All right. Well, if you hadn't guessed, we watched Raiders of the Lost Ark this week, and we are going to be talking about that. But one thing before we do, we got to catch up with Ellie.
Ah,
We haven't seen you since March,
Like-
April. I don't know exactly
what's
when.
like at the
but-
beginning of the year, right? Like March.
Yeah, so we wrapped up our epic romance, right? I think English page
End of February, early March.
Yeah.
Yeah.
somewhere around
Wow.
there. That was our
Oh,
last
God.
episode with you. So
That was a great series.
yeah.
That
I think Ellie
was into
inspired
that one.
series in a lot of ways because we got
You know, I
got the notebook in on that one if you remember.
I
Yeah, we
did. I
did.
did. Oh,
Yeah.
was-
and
I
we
was
saved it.
I was gonna leave. I was gonna leave with a bang with my favorite film being on that zone. So
Ellie,
Yeah.
time may have passed, but you are still my 1998.
You're the great. You still look like you don't age at all. So
I hope
It's
I'm
like
aged in
few
5
months.
So whatever it's been. Emily, would you mind telling a little bit? What have you been doing after your retirement from the podcast?
we returned. So I've been really busy auditioning a lot, and a lot of I think a lot of the things that one of the things that as sadly as I had to step away from the podcast was so that I could focus more on my acting and also writing. And since I left, I went on vacation to my country, El Salvador, after 10 years.
Mm.
And I loved it. It was such a great place. Right now, El Salvador is so safe. It's like there isn't even petty thieves because nobody wants to make the president mad. Everybody loves the president and wants to make him proud. So, but it was a wonderful experience being in El Salvador for 2 weeks. And then just after I came back, it was all this auditions waiting for me, and just been auditioning with Boston Casting, my agent, and taking some acting classes. And I actually booked a few of the gigs too. So I've been on set.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and just really tight on my acting, and I'm just kind of tweaking the script that I wrote. It's like a screenplay. It's a short film, and I called it IAI, but I recently changed the name to Penelope Awakens because I love the name Penelope.
Nice.
So, and a little bit of like the whole story, what I want to do with the story is I want it to have a sense of morality and values when it comes to AI. So I've been reading a lot of on AI and researching, and I've learned so much about the whole AI situation and how it started in 1956 and where it lay dormant for like so many years from 1956 because there was no money. Then they tried to bring AI in the 70s, and that didn't work because there was no money. And then they tried it in the 80s, and that didn't work because there was no money. And then towards the millennial time, like 2000s, that's when it picked up. And it's picked up so fast. It's like, and because now there's investors. And the investors are usually the rich people who want to, chunk of that AI money, and they want to be the first ones to have the AI changes that are coming, and they are coming, and is inevitable. As much as we would like to think it's not. So I started writing this out of, I don't know, it just kind of like came to my head. I have a lot of stories in my head, but this one's the one that developed the most. And I should be casting pretty soon for it. It's just female. It's gonna be female cast. It really is just two females, really. And I'm not yet if I'm gonna be in the film. I kind of want to be on the other side of it, not in the. So, yes, I'm excited. And what else? Let me see. Oh, about a month ago in July, I started running.
Yeah.
Nice.
Like 4 times a week. And let me tell you guys, I started running like really slowly. I think I was running like 30 minutes a mile. So this week I actually started running 16 minutes per mile. So
Impressive.
yeah, so
That's
this
amazing.
is my second month, and the changes that that I feel the energy, and it's just great. I slowly but surely I've been achieving this goal of mine. It wasn't even a goal. I just kind of went running with Carlos, and it's become a thing. Like now it's like, we gotta go running. Gotta go running. So I plan to keep running even through the winter, the cold weather. So yeah.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
is-
so
that is
that's pretty much it. Yeah. Yeah.
okay. Wonderful. Well, thank you for catching us up on what's going on. I also want to point out one thing, and this may also fly under the radar, but this is a 1 year anniversary of something also very important. B, you have been with us now 1 year.
What a good year. What a good year it's been. Yay.
Oh my God. That's wonderful.
Time flies, man.
This is quite the episode.
Oh, man. I'm excited.
Speech. Everyone.
Yes.
No.
Speech. Speech.
No,
Speech.
no,
No.
I won't spring that on you. Let's say, no.
I'm glad it was not a good movie.
So, Raiders of the Lost Ark, I have a plot synopsis here. In 1936, archaeologists and adventurers of the U.S. Who wrote this synopsis? Anyways, in 1936, archaeologists and adventurers of the U.S. government hired Indiana Jones to find the Ark of the Covenant before the Nazis could obtain its extraordinary powers. Yep, that's concise. And here is a snippet of the trailer.
The Bible speaks of the ark leveling mountains and laying waste to entire regions. That's something to be taken lightly. No one knows its secrets. Jones, do you realize what the ark is? It's a transmitter. It's a radio for speaking to God. An army which carries the ark before it is invincible. Beyond, what is their attorneys? Then it has something that man was not meant to disturb. It is protected by forces beyond imagination. What's this? It is desired above all treasures of earth by those who are good, trust me, and those who are evil.
What are you going to say?
This knows you. Raiders of the Lost Ark.
All right. Sam the Sixth, do you have movie facts for us?
All right. So there are so many movie facts on this one that I kind of tried to cherry pick them a little bit. So jump in if I miss anything. But first, let me get some basic data across. This was directed by someone named Steven Spielberg.
Never
Heard of
Never
him.
heard of him. The screenplay was by Lawrence Kasdan, story by George Lucas and Philip Kaufman, produced by Frank Marshall, and stars obviously Harrison Ford, Karen Allen, Paul Freeman as an excellent villain, Ronald Lacey as an intimidating villain, John Rhys Davis and Denholm Elliott. Cinematography by Douglas.
First role for Alfred Molina.
First role for Alfred Molina, day one on the set. He's covered in tarantulas. And since I'm doing facts, I'll say that none of the tarantulas were moving on his shirt. They were all male spiders. So Spielberg had them put a female spider on his jacket, and all the spiders started jumping and crawling around, and that's how they got the spiders to move. Cinematography by Douglas Slocum, who did the first 4 Indiana Jones film, edited by Spielberg's.
Yeah, his credits go all the way back to 1942. It's
incredible.
Yeah,
like his many frequent collaborator Michael Kahn, music by John Williams, production
Never heard of
company Lucasfilm, and let me go into more sort of detailed facts. So the legendary beginning of this is that in May of 1977, George Lucas was vacationing with Steven Spielberg in Hawaii the week Star Wars opened because he wanted to escape. He was afraid Star Wars was going to be a flop. It was not. He breathed a sigh of relief when it was a huge hit, big opening weekend. And he asked Steven, he said, "What do you want to do next?" And Steven Spielberg said, "I've always wanted to direct a James Bond movie, and I've been trying to do that." And Lucas said, "I have something that's better than Bond." And that's when he started telling him the story of Indiana Smith, it was called at the time, a playboy, archaeologist and a tomb raider. Spielberg loved the concept, and so that's where the beginnings of this fateful partnership occurred. Interestingly enough, I really like how the story coalesced. They met at Lucas's assistant's house in Sherman Oaks, and for like 8 hours a day for a couple days, Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, with Lawrence Kasdan recording them because he was the screenwriter, they just sat in a room and talked about set pieces that they wanted to see, visuals that they wanted to see. Lawrence Kasdan took down all these notes, and it was up to him to coalesce all that material into a screenplay, which I actually think is kind of an organic way to start with a movie like that. I mean, it sounds kind of just like spitballing, but fascinating. Fun fact: Indiana Lucas came up with a character from his Alaskan Malamute dog, which will be referenced in a later film. And this movie at the time was actually a hard sell to many studios, if you can believe it, because at the time, Spielberg had a reputation for going over schedule and over budget. And this time, 1941 was kind of a big budget box office flop. And so Spielberg was determined to come in under budget and under schedule, which he did, and which I actually think really helped this film. Famously, Tom Selleck was picked for the role of Indiana Jones, but due to his contractual obligations with Magnum PI, he could not do the film. In 1999, the Library of Congress added this into their, library of films of cultural significance. This was shot in La Rochelle, France, Tunisia, Hawaii, and Elstree Studios, England was where they did all the studio work because, of course, since this was a Lucasfilm production, they had an apparatus set up in England, and they had a whole bunch of Star Wars tech crew already. So going to Elstree Studios for them was a perfect fit. This fact I actually only just learned today. To save the budget, at the very end, there's a brief establishing shot of Washington, D.C., and it's from a movie called The Hindenburg from 1975. They just used footage from another film, so they didn't have to go out and shoot that establishing shot. I did not know this. And on a personal note, I've always found this story fascinating, even though it's sort of indirectly related. Spielberg, in the middle of the Tunisian desert, when he was feeling very lonely and isolated, and Raiders, in some ways, is much more technical than some of the other movies he's done. It's all about action. He wanted to get something back to more of a spiritual tone, and it was in the Tunisian desert when he first came up with the concept of E.T. the Extraterrestrial while they were shooting, and he actually taught Harrison Ford's girlfriend at the time, Melissa Matheson, to write the screenplay for E.T., write a first draft. She was not interested in doing it, and it was Harrison that came between Steven and her and said, you should really give this a shot. Just write the script for him and see what happens. And so the rest there is history. Please jump in. Those are some of the main facts. This is one of those movies. There's so much lore, and there's so much that I could, just go on forever. So that's kind of my brief chunk off the top of my head,
Sam, you hit the big ones. Absolutely. Those are great. Just to mention a few things about the crew behind this, you mentioned Steven Spielberg. This is his 6th feature film. Lawrence Kasdan, we reviewed a Lawrence Kasdan film about a year ago. He directed Body Heat, 81, known for The Big Chill, Silverado. He also, before this, was the writer of Empire Strikes Back as well. So he's worked on a few things. What a crew George Lucas pulled together for this. And I feel like, George Lucas was one of the producers on this, but this was really his baby. And I think that sometimes gets overlooked sometimes, but he's the one that brought in like Douglas Slocum and John Williams and a lot of these people. And I mean, so much credit has to go for him. John Williams,
The score is incredible.
It is.
Oh my gosh.
And how this did not win, best score. I don't know. I actually, let me get into some of the awards here, because I did pull this up here. This was nominated for 9 Academy Awards in 1982, in the 82 Academy Awards. Nominated for art direction, editing, sound editing, visual effects. Nothing for wardrobe, which I was surprised.
Wow.
Because I totally would think that this should have gotten one. Did win for, though that's what it did win for. Sorry, it won for art direction, editing, sound editing, visual effects. It got nominated, but did not win for Best Picture. Only Indiana Jones film to get nominated for Best Picture. Lost to Chariots of Fire.
Did Chariots of Fire win Best Score that year?
Yes. For
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
And everyone knows the song from that.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, exactly. Lost Best Director to Warren Beatty for Reds. Also lost cinematography to Reds, and we talked about score. So that's the award. And there's other BAFTA and other awards and global awards, but those are the Academy Awards I picked up on. I don't know if we mentioned this came out on June 12th, 1981. Came out the same day as History of the World Part 1. And released 1 week after this was Superman 2.
What a great summer.
What an amazing June. Yeah. And these came in, I think, 1 and 2 in the box office at the end of the year. This was the number 1 movie of 81. I think Superman 2 may have been number 2. I have to look again.
Maybe.
But yeah, $20 million. This movie that's nothing. And if you calculate that on today's money, that's only $77 million. So that's still not a lot.
That is literally $7 million less than the price of Alien Romulus, to give you a today money.
And at the time, and its initial release made $212 million, but overall almost $390 million overall global. So
Paramount executives at the time, because it was doing so well in the summer, it was one of the leggiest box office. I mean, it played in theaters for almost a year, and so all the Paramount executives in the fall jokingly said, "Hey, Raiders is going to be a great Christmas movie too," because it just went right through the whole year.
And 2 other pieces of trivia. You mentioned the Tom Selleck thing. I just want to ask, before we get into really our review, what do you think about this movie with Tom Selleck?
Oh, hell no.
No. So
no.
A thumbs down from Ellie.
No.
I don't think it would have been awful. I just think it would have been very different in terms of his energy. I see why they liked him, but I'm really glad that it was. I mean, Harrison Ford was so destined to do it. Lucas didn't want to do Harrison because he thought that audiences would perceive that he was using Harrison too much in American Graffiti and in Star Wars, and now he's in this. He wanted a fresh face, and it was Spielberg that pushed for Harrison, which was great.
Yeah, he was worried. He was
Tom
worried.
Tom Selleck is not eye candy, and back in the day, because for me,
Magnum PI from 19.
Yes, I have.
Mike Gallagher from Friends thinks he is, because they had a relationship in that show. Sorry.
But I remember Steven Spielberg was the main reason why he looked at what Scorsese and how he used Robert De Niro. Like, he did not want to be that guy that had I'm using the same actor for all my pictures.
And also to quote Lucas, he's like, well, I don't know if we can get Harrison for 3 movies. It's gonna be tough to get the contract on that one.
And 2 other pieces. This is really minor stuff. I read that the other earlier today. That his bullwhip auctioned off for $43,000.
Worth it.
Yep.
His what? The whip.
The bullwhip. $42,000. Now, here's an interesting fact, and this just makes me feel kind of old when I think about this. This film is now 43 years old. In 1981, it's depicting the events that took place in 1936. And it's really weird to think that this movie, if it were to come out today and we were to look back at the events that took place 43 years prior, we'd be telling a story that took place in 1981.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
that's funny.
I thought about that just recently.
On a side note, I think didn't the fedora, the original hat, sell recently at an auction for some ridiculous price? Like this summer, there was You
think I could rock that fedora?
No.
Yes.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Not for it. Sorry, Nathan.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's this. It's a deep rabbit hole of facts and trivia that we could get into, but that'd be probably pretty boring. Let's get into our reviews on this, our thoughts on this. Ellie, you are a guest of honor. We brought you back specifically for this episode because we know what a big fan you are of this film. Tell us, is this movie any good?
Are you kidding me? I don't think I can ever stop. Like, every time I watch this movie, and I have a habit of watching movies that I like over and over, like The Notebook, for example. Indiana Jones not only is one of those favorite movies that I love, it's the fact that Harrison Ford, I've always been or had a crush on him since like the first time I seen him, like back in the 80s. And it's funny enough, back in the 80s, I didn't understand the movie because I didn't speak English a lot. I didn't understand a lot of the concept. I didn't even know what it was, the whole thing was about. I didn't know about the Nazi. I was very, I watched for the action and for the good looking man in it because, back then he was always, um, I mean, older than me, but hey, I thought he was hot. And I don't know, guys, but there's a thing about men on horses that I find extremely okay. It gets to me. I'll watch the movie just to see him on that horse over and over again. But I love Indiana Jones. I love everything from the comedy. You know, you forget that it's not just action, but there's comedic timing in this movie that is so cool. And I laugh always. Like every time I watch this movie, I'm always laughing. The people's faces when they get scared or they get killed. It's like, truthfully, that is not how you die. But the fact that they made this dramatic face and you're like, what the heck? Really? Okay. And then Spielberg, I don't like spiders. So that very first beginning, I'm like, I don't like snakes either, but I take snakes over spiders anytime. But then I take neither. So, but the fact that the whole idea of the arc, as humans, we always try to, right? Like at the beginning, you know, Nathan gave us the option to give the arc to the museum or not open the box. But as humans, we're gonna be curious and we're gonna want to open it. We want to know what's inside, and that's gonna kill us eventually because we don't pay attention. But I love the whole concept of the film, and the Nazis being the evil people that they were, back in the day, and to see them being obliterated, it's actually a good feeling. I'm sorry, I'm not like I have a human side to me, but I have no sympathy for Nazi and anyone who tries to obliterate another race because just because. And so I love that Spielberg, and obviously for all the obvious reasons, he created this film and did just that. So I truly enjoyed this film. I love Harrison. I love the whole concept of the Indiana Jones series. I've watched them all, and even the last one. When was it? Last year?
Last
Yeah,
year,
last summer. Yeah.
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 So I went to the movies and I saw it, and I liked how they tied it together and brought the girlfriend, the wife back, right? Because I've seen other shows where they don't bring the people back, and so it's kind of like sad that they don't do that. So I don't know. It's a good feel movie for me. Just really fun to watch. It's entertaining. It's entertaining. You're rooting for Indiana. He's hot. He's just, after fighting, it makes me want to be Indiana Jones. Like I could, in my head, I could close my eyes to see myself being Indiana Jones. By the way, my dad became Indiana Jones for a Halloween. This is where we got the hat that you saw earlier. He had the whip, he had everything. So I was like, that is Indiana Jones. And in reality, I think of my dad as an Indiana Jones kind of guy because he fixes everything that's broken. He really does. He's very mechanic. He's a mechanic like by trade since he was like 11 years old. There is nothing my dad cannot do to fix. He'll fix it. I just know he'll fix it. And so Indiana Jones is kind of like that way. He'll fix everything. He'll figure out a way to get out of any situation. And that's my dad. So my dad is actually Indiana Jones. So I live with Indiana Jones.
Love that.
It's awesome.
All right. Ellie, so I got to ask if you had to give it a rating from 1 to 5.
Let me see. 10? No, okay. 5. And
5-time movie. All right.
yeah.
I think I'm next. So I've been mulling this over for a while, how to put my my words, my thoughts about Raiders of the Lost Ark, into this review, and it's really hard to do because I fear that much of what I'm going to say is going to sound very hyperbolic because, but honestly, this film, along with probably the first two Star Wars films, are the holy trinity of what action adventure was for me growing up. And I remember reenacting in the backyard with friends scenes from this movie. We pretended that the boulder was chasing after us, or we were like crawling. Like I had a friend that had like a big pickup truck, and we would like climb underneath it, holding on, thinking that pretending it was like driving down, a dirt road. So we were doing all these things. This was long before I thought about a career in the industry.
Mm-mm.
Everything about this movie is just pure magic for me. It's probably the film that I most consistently return to every couple of years, and it never fails to bring the biggest smile to my face.
Yeah.
Experiencing Raiders for me, I can only describe as a religious experience because it's about as perfect a movie I think there is. The characters, I mean, all of them. What I like about this is that they're all flawed in some way. Even Indiana Jones, the art direction, John Williams' score, which still gives me goosebumps, probably more than any of his scores. It just to this day, the grand scope of everything, it's just incredible. Watching it this past week actually was very emotional for me because two things recently took place in my life. I've entered a new decade in my life. I've now watched this film in 6 different decades of my life, which is the only movie I can say that about right now. So, which is almost like a religious experience in itself. But this is also like a dad movie. And you talked about dads, Ellie, a moment ago, and I had the same experience. I've said this before, and I don't want anyone to misinterpret my words, but I love my 2 daughters, but they have no interest in watching this film, which kind of breaks my heart a little bit. I wish they did because I want so desperately to share this movie with them or anybody who hasn't seen this, which makes me happy, knowing that there's somebody on this podcast that's never seen this before that we now have the opportunity to we kind of need to watch this be. Even though I know you're gonna see it.
No, it's my idea.
Yeah. And also a few days ago, and I don't think he'll mind that I mentioned this, but a few days ago, my best friend, his father, he was a great man, someone who I've looked up to for 40 years, passed away.
Oh.
And it really got me thinking about, movies that fathers share with their children and, parents also. But I know this was one that they shared together. And this was, a friend of mine that he dressed up for Halloween as Indiana Jones as well. I remember this. And I think I mentioned a year ago on our Dial of Destiny episode that I went to the theater back in 1981. This was one of the formative movies that I remember. Probably this one and maybe Star Trek: The Motion Picture and Empire Strikes Back is like those first few films I remember sharing with my dad. And I got to last year return the favor when I took him to see Dial of Destiny. So it kind of feels
That's
like
so cool.
full circle. And, from so many conversations I've had with friends and acquaintances over my lifetime, this is a universal experience with this film. So whether it's Raiders of the Lost Ark or Star Wars, or maybe even seeing E.T., this is just one of those movies that, changes how I look at the world when I was a young child. But you probably had to be there. That's the thing, to really have that kind of takeaway. I'm not sure coming at it with fresh eyes if it holds that status. But I imagine, someone, you know, if, if you see, if you pick up those references that this movie is referencing in modern cinema, it's there. It's all over the map in new movies now. So when we get to B, I'd like to know if you're picking up on all the references to Raiders and these other movies that we're gonna see this month in newer films. But anyways,
I was thinking
this-
about that the whole time. We'll talk
this-
about it.
this is a masterpiece of cinema. It's a 5-star movie. 5 stars can't contain this film. So that's my pick. B, I'm gonna hand. I think you're.
Sam.
Oh, Sam's like. But yeah, sorry. Yeah, Sam.
Okay, so I literally feel the same way, Nathan. I'm a little bit younger, so I'm 43 now, and so I saw this on VHS for the first time, but it was my father that introduced the film to me, and I was obsessed with it as a 5-year-old kid. And what Ellie was saying is that even when I was so little, and there was obviously like a lot of nuances and story beats that as a little kid I couldn't pick up on, Spielberg is such a good visual storyteller that I could follow the action and I could follow what was going on. And as a little kid, this was the movie where the guy with the hat fought the bad guys and he went after the big chest,
Yeah.
and I just the brilliance of Steven Spielberg is that his visual storytelling language is made for people ages 8 through 80, and you can just literally,
And
you
even
know,
if you don't speak English or understand English well, you can
Yes.
still follow the story, which is really cool.
Absolutely.
Because funny thing, Nathan, that you say that I went to see this movie back then with my dad. I mean, we both didn't really speak English really well, but it was my dad and I because they wouldn't let me go to movies by myself, because I was younger. So they were like, you're not going to the movies alone. So my dad would have to come to see movies. If I wanted to see a movie, he had to come and sit with me, because I'd be like, my mom was taking care of my little brother. So which is like, so it was really fun. It's really awesome to hear both of you that your experiences are also with your dads, because I thought I was the only one, but it's cool to see that wasn't just me. Sorry,
no,
Sam.
absolutely. No, he literally like introduced me to Indiana Jones, and he encouraged my enjoyment of it. And a really funny story. I was in kindergarten watching this movie, and I was obsessed with the special effects of the finale when the Ark of the Covenant opens up and destroys and kills all the Nazis. And so I was drawing this in class, and my teacher held a parent-teacher conference with my father and mother and said, we think your son is really disturbed and we're really concerned about him. And they showed what I've been drawing, and it was all these like, face melting eyeballs popping out. And my dad burst out laughing and said, no, 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 no. He really loves the movie. He's just reenacting the scene because he was enamored with it. I will say, I mean, for me, the nostalgia is a given. It's so ingrained with my childhood and acting out those scenes. And because Indiana Jones is such an earthy movie, it was such a perfect playing Indiana Jones outside, in the dirt and in your backyard and the road. And it's just like, it was just great. But if I say, talking about looking at it now, analyzing it, what I love about Steven Spielberg's direction in this movie is Spielberg himself has said this is one of the few movies that he can watch with his kids where he can enjoy the movie for the movie's sake by itself, meaning he's
That's
not watching it
incredible.
going, oh, I wish I'd used that lens, he can just separate himself and enjoy it. I think Raiders has such economical, focused storytelling, and I think that Spielberg is so good with visual geography and almost having a very three-dimensional sense to his use of space. And so I love in his films that this is the thing, like at the Tanis dig site in Tunisia where they shot, if you look in the background of the shot, there are just extras upon extras, like 1,000 feet from the camera. And in a modern film, they'd shoot the foreground and they'd CGI the background.
CGI them in.
And Spielberg's effort where he puts that, and he does that in all of his films, even today, in a different way. But and I have to comment, I think the truck chase is one of my favorite action sequences of all time. The editing is so perfect. The timing is perfect. John Williams' storytelling of the music on the truck chase. The truck chase is like 8.5 minutes, and it literally has chapters of the chase, and John Williams guides you through it. It's just like incredible. It's so awesome. And lastly, I'll say that what I like about it, the tonality is, it has, adventure serial and James Bond. But what Indiana Jones has always had is I like the underlying mysticism of whatever the MacGuffin is, whether it's the Ark of the Covenant, and we won't talk about the later films yet, but there is an underlying, like almost supernatural, spiritual,
Yes.
it has nothing to do with dogmatic religion or anything like that. It's more about the arc in the story is this is this mystical,
Force.
do not mess with the powers, of the unknown above mere mortals. And I like that the movie takes that seriously. And when he goes to the map room and he puts the staff of Ra in and John Williams music and the thing, like,
Oh,
can't,
so good.
I can't,
Yeah.
I can't deal with it. I don't want to cry because I'll start to cry. So I'll just say,
No, seriously,
Yeah.
I well up during that. The
Yeah.
score and the look on Indy's face, the smile and like that scene just glows. And I really, yeah.
it's just amazing. And I mean, for me, it's just a flat out 5 stars. And I also think the circumstances of Spielberg wanting to come in under budget, he said that he did not indulge himself, meaning he, to save the budget, they cut out, they didn't use some techno crane shots, and he kind of kept himself in this. And so the storytelling is so lean and mean, and just this movie is just so pitch perfect that you just get to the end of it and it's like you just sit there and slow clap in silence because it's like, well, that was perfect, 5 stars. I mean, I don't even know what else to say,
Very
It's so funny. I have to tell you
Yeah.
guys, I actually ran to the score of Raiders of the Lost Ark. That's the music that I listen to. And when I'm on the track, I don't run on the street. I have to go to the track to run. Okay. But when I run and I hear that music, I feel like I'm Indiana Jones running. You know?
Oh, yeah.
And it just gives you that,
Yeah.
that extra, I don't know, like just extra
Totally see
motivation,
that.
So
Exactly. And I'll say lastly, quick, Ellie, you just reminded me of a fun fact that I forgot, but John Williams came up with 2 scores. One was dun da dun da 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 da. The other one was dun da da dun da 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 da. And Spielberg said, "Why not combine both of them and keep them both? I like them both. I can't decide." And so they're
It's
both part of the
true.
score.
yeah.
Amazing.
Before we get to your review, I would love for you to share you wrote down as what you know
Sure.
to be true about Raiders of the Lost Ark or the
Sure.
franchise in general.
Yeah. So, for anyone who's been following along, I have never seen any of these movies. And I have somehow managed to go almost 33 years with no spoilers for these movies. I didn't do any Universal rides. I'd never read any articles. I knew absolutely nothing. I didn't even know this was a Lucas film. Like, I knew nothing about this movie going in. But just like Nathan was saying, from popular culture, like things have seeped through as references, be they overt or just sort of more background. And so there were a few things, like preconceived notions that I had. I was like, I'm pretty sure this is going to show up at some point, and I think they're probably really funny now in hindsight.
Yeah.
So there were 2 things I knew to be gospel: fun little hat, and he has a whip. Definitely, for sure. Knew that was going to happen. I was under the impression that there might be some like vine riding, like Tarzan style, and we did.
You got a little of that, yeah.
We got a little.
Wait a couple more movies.
I had no idea that this movie was fighting Nazis. I thought this took place in the late 1800s. I had no clue that this would be like a World War II movie. I thought there would be like a younger Indian, like a small child that was his protege. Like my image was he was like a cantankerous old man, and there was a kid that just like warmed the cockles of his heart, and he took him on the adventure. That didn't happen. Maybe it will. I was pretty sure there'd be gold, but I thought the gold, because it's Ark of the Covenant. I didn't know what that was, so I thought like a ship, but that's just the Goonies. So it's not a pirate ship at all. I figured he would have a catchphrase. He doesn't. I was surprised that there was a romance, and I thought there would just be one villain across all the movies, like Harry Potter. But I don't think the Nazis are going to show up all the time. So I don't think. Anyway, so that's what I thought going into it. Obviously, not all that held up. I don't know how interesting that'll
love
be for
that.
people,
I love that.
but
Fascinating. Yeah.
I don't know.
It really is. I'm not joking. Yeah.
That was sort of like my initial impression, but I am so on board with all of you. This movie is magic. I mean, like from the opening scene, the thing that stood out to me immediately were the set pieces. I think all of you here know how much I ride for practical effects and big sets and things
Yeah.
just feeling real and shooting on these locations, shooting on these big sets, the stakes felt so high immediately in this movie. And I think I sent a message to you guys where I was like, holy shit, it's Alfred Molina. Like, I loved him so much. And I was like, he died so quickly. And I was like, no, I really wanted to see more Molina. I was one of the good guys, but it immediately sets you into this tone of adventure movie. And I do think when you've seen what the movie influences later in life, and then you go back to the catalyst, sometimes the catalyst doesn't always hold up. Like, I introduced my nieces and nephews to Men in Black, but they've seen a lot of really good CGI sci-fi now. So Men in Black for them, they were like, yeah, okay. They weren't as wrapped with attention as I was for Men in Black when it came out. So I was kind of nervous about that, but that didn't happen at all. You can totally see how this is the blueprint in terms of pacing and storytelling. Everything is so tight and clear and concise. The characters are excellent, but it does also just feel like you can be transported to the sense of childlike wonder. I think that's the thing that Spielberg does best. Like when he has that, when there's a Spielberg movie that you really like, I think it's because I didn't see this until I was 32, but I could feel like I was 8 years old watching this and just be totally awed at this, like the spectacle and the grandeur of everything and how big it all felt and how serious it all felt, even though it was very Spielberg mystical. For me, my frame of reference for nostalgia is Lord of the Rings. That's the movie that I saw with my dad. He kept me out of school. I've told this story on the pod before. I was 10 when the first one came out, and then we saw them every year together. And for me, that movie, sitting in the movie theater with my dad and looking up at the big screen and just being like, I'm transported. I'm in this magical realm with magical people, and anything's possible. And I'm going to learn Elvish and read all these books. And I fell in love with it. And at 32 years old, I got to feel that way again. And I was like, this is so cool. It was great.
So cool hearing that.
It was great. Yeah. 5 stars. Perfect movie.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that it has that power still, because
I
my
really
view is
thought
so
so.
skewed by childhood that's great that it has that effect. Yeah.
I really thought so,
Yeah. And to me, it's like, it's funny because this is one of those movies that you've already watched, you know what's going to happen. But for some reason, every time I watch, it seems like it's the first time I'm watching the movie. Because
Yes.
it's like,
Yeah.
hello. It's like,
I caught
doesn't
myself
get
like
old.
I caught myself like reaching for my partner's hand. Like I was like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? Like, oh my God. Like I just was so surprised, but I didn't know that there was a face melting scene. That was a super fun surprise for me. I thought the plane fight was awesome.
Oh my
When they were,
God,
like,
yeah.
shooting out the cockpit, like the actions, so good in this movie, but it does just feel big. This movie feels huge, and I think that's so powerful.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And B, I don't know if you know this, B, but that funny scene where the guy does all the moves with the sword and Harrison Ford just
Mhm.
shot him. The reason
Yes.
he did was because he was actually suffering from dysentery in real life because they had all the Spielberg was the only one in Tunisia that didn't get sick because he brought in all his canned food from London and just like ate.
Smart.
And so they had this whole fight scene staged, and Harrison Ford was so ill. He was like, so they came up with the idea just to shoot him on the spot. And the poor swordsman had been practicing and practicing for weeks. And they're like, yeah, we're just going to shoot you. And you just fall down and that's it.
Oh,
There
yeah,
is-
yeah,
That's
but
one of my favorite scenes, by the way. That's one of my favorite scenes.
That's
in the film.
hysterical. Yeah.
And what I love about that is it's perfect for Indy's character because it's not just a cop out. Like it's funny,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
a funny moment, but it actually is just shows his character and that he cheats. He'll do it. He's
Yes.
lucky he cheats. When he's fighting the big Nazi at the plane, he kicks him in the crotch. He throws dirt in his eyes. He will do what
Yep.
it takes to get out of a situation.
He's scrappy. He's a scrap.
exactly.
That's actually why I think he's better for the role than Tom Selleck. Because Tom Selleck, I think, could have done like the suave, cool guy bit probably fine, the eye candy bit.
Yeah.
But there's moments where Harrison Ford shows like real fear. Like when he sees the snakes at the end, when they're down there, there's a few key pieces that I'm like, that's just Harrison.
The way he just
Perfect.
lays down there, I'm like,
They're snakes. His
Might
face
have
is
to be
like,
snakes. Yeah.
"They're
Why do it
not
have to be
water
snakes?
snakes."
It's also set up with, in the beginning of the movie where he's running away from that temple and
With
he
the
jumps into the
pilot.
plane and there's a snake in the cockpit and it's just that line, I hate snakes. If what a great piece of screenwriting to have that moment and then set that up with
Tied it up.
7,000 snakes later
There
on.
is nothing in the beginning of the story that's not used later, from the drinking with Miriam to how you find out how they got the medallion schematics. Like, it's so
No,
smart.
it is. I'd like to
Um,
just go through a few beat by beat, not too much because we're already 50 minutes into this episode, but
Hmm.
some of the big parts of this. The beginning of this movie, we have to talk about the introduction of Indy because I think the first 8-10 minutes of this movie the whole movie's perfect, but the first 8-10 minutes
mhm.
are maybe the most iconic in movie history
Yeah.
where
Mhm.
Indy's in shadows. His entrance, the way he's revealed is, I want to be revealed that way, just walking out in shadows.
Oh my
I don't
God.
remember
Yeah.
characters revealed this way, and it's before this.
The score too. Like, I don't know. You guys have seen this movie so many times, so I don't know if you would still have this thought. But when Indy was revealed, I think I sent a message. I was like, wait, is he like not a good guy? Are we like sort of on his side, but he's the bad guy? Because the music and the shadows set him up to be kind of an
Shadows
antagonist
precede characters throughout this entire movie. It's
the
something
whole
that's used all
time.
the time. I love the way that Spielberg is doing this.
And the guy gets
does it
shot in the shadow.
when in Nepal. We don't
Yeah.
see Indy until we see a shadow on the wall, and Miriam turns around to see him. Everyone's introduction is the best introduction in movie history in this
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
The way people walk into scenes, they crouch into the frame. I love the way we are introduced to Belloc. I want to talk about Belloc with you
Mm.
guys. I think Belloc. I want to talk about Belloc. I think he's my favorite villain in this whole franchise. When I like how we're dropped into mid adventure, and
Mhm.
Yes.
I think it's a great
Yes.
and Indy runs away, and you hear like the echoes of Belloc laughing. It's almost like it's within his head, signifying this is a rivalry that has been going on for a
For
long
years.
time.
Mhm.
It's just a brilliant piece of sound editing and storytelling, and yeah. So I think this
Also, this is
with Paul
so.
Freeman. Yeah.
Paul Freeman's amazing, but this movie has the most famous fly of all time. When Paul Freeman is talking and the fly lands on his mouth, he's like, "You're gonna give mercenaries a bad name." It's like, fly, fly.
And no, they edited out a few frames to make it look like he ate the fly, but he really
Yeah,
did not.
he did not eat the fly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like, where did that fly go?
Yeah. And he's back at the university. Do you love how his entire class is made up of women? They are clearly not there.
Tag yourself. I'm the girl with the love you on her eyelids.
That love you moment was the first assistant director's idea on the set, and they made that up as an improvisation. And it's
That
like,
is so
brilliant.
cool.
They're
Oh my goodness.
clearly not there for the academics.
So
Yeah,
this is
David
one.
Tomlin, epic AD. Sorry, David Tomlin, masterful like AD, just like genius.
I would have totally signed up for that class, and I would have been
Yeah,
most browsed by
100%,
it.
Ellie.
It's so funny because it's hysterical because obviously he's teaching a subject which is inherently a pretty stodgy topic.
Mhm.
And frankly, Andy, I get the sense that he's not a great college professor
He's not.
and infusing his lessons with energy and emotion. He doesn't want to be there. He'd rather be out on an adventure.
It's real
you know,
Harrison
which
Ford
I-
energy.
It kind of leads me to, I want to ask you guys a question though. What do you think is Indy's motivation? Because this actually I think about this a lot. Is it,
Mm.
the adventure? Is it the history? Is it the ego? Is it the fame, the money, the thrill? What is it that really gets him out there to do these adventures? Because there's a lot of different answers to this.
I think he's like a like, I think he wants to be the first to get there. Like, I think he's like Edmund Hillary. He's like, I got to be the one to get this.
I
I-
definitely see that. I also feel like he even though he's not a great teacher, he does have like academia in his heart, and so I feel like he
Mm.
really is interested culturally in the actual artifact, and so there's like an honorable nobility, but there is
Right.
also that kind of like playboy grave robber aspect, but Harrison Ford
Right.
plays it as if he really cares, like he has to find
Yes.
the artifact, because if he doesn't find it, it's going to be left to dust or mistreated or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, I think it's also I truly believe he's one of those men who, and I feel it because of the last picture that we saw last year, where and I know that he's got this romance with this girl, but I think that he's not someone you can tame. He's
Mhm.
not someone that, as a girlfriend, don't expect Indiana to be with you because you're going to be disappointed. He's going to go and do his thing, regardless of whether, what in my book, it's like, is Indiana going to pick the girl? Is he going to pick the adventure? He's definitely going to pick the adventure of the girl.
Interesting. I can't. We're gonna get to B. You're not there yet, but when we get to the third movie, this theme comes back, and I can't wait.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't
and,
know.
and I think that he's a daredevil, and when you're a daredevil, it's very hard to keep you in one place. It does. I feel like Indiana Jones, like my dad. My dad has always been a daredevil. He likes
Mhm.
adventures. He's always been out there hiking, doing whatever,
Mm-hmm.
jumping off big cliffs into the ocean when he was young. He's still a daredevil, even at he's 83 years old. You can't. He goes walking for like 4 miles 3 times a week. So
Nice.
it's like he is the Indiana Jones that I know and I love. And so to me, when I think of Indiana Jones, I think of my dad, because it's like, yeah, when you're a daredevil, it's gonna be really hard to keep you down. You're gonna want to go for an adventure. But at the same time, there's two elements. I think he's a daredevil who loves adventure. And the other element is that he is an archaeologist. And right, he's an archaeologist, right? He likes to
Oh.
and as an
And a
archaeologist,
grave robber, maybe.
uh,
Sure.
I think he does care. He wants to know the history of artifacts or where they come from, and that's important to him, as well as being a daredevil in the adventure. So yeah,
I think that's why Miriam was the right match for this movie. Like her being such a strong character, like her introduction, she's just like kicking people's ass at drinking. She's stuck in Nepal. She's figured it out. She's running a
She's
bar.
a
She's doing
badass.
okay. Like I think she was just a great fit. I also think it tells us more about Indy at the end, where he suddenly like she's playing the mommy role for him, right? Like he's just
I like
totally coddled up in bed and he's just like, ugh, he can do what he is great at, but all the other stuff, I think he might need a little help.
Yeah,
Can we
yeah.
I
talk
still love
about
it when she flips the mirror on his chin.
Yes, oh my
Like,
god, it was so funny. It was so funny.
Let's back up for one moment though. When Indy and Miriam are reunited when we see them both together for the first time, what do you think about their relationship? There's some chatter,
History.
about their history. If there was possibly that this was inappropriate relationship. And I didn't know if you guys have a take on this because it's mentioned, and I've never really thought too much about it until this. Because I did some research afterwards. Indy has been gone for 10 years now. And I think Harrison Ford's like 37, 38 when this movie was made. But it's alluded to that maybe he was probably in his mid 20s when
That she was
they
too
had
young.
and she was probably like 15.
Yep.
So it's not really, they don't make much of it in this movie, but there's a good possibility that he was sleeping with a former student that was like 15 years old. Now,
it is possible, and it's like when he sees Marion in Nepal, and that's when it's kind of implied with that dialogue, and he's like, "Where's Abner? Abner's dead." It's like there's a history there. Yeah.
But she says like, I was in love, I was a child, and he says like, you knew what you were doing.
You knew what you were doing.
He's an ass in the scene.
Yes.
He is.
Yep.
He's just there. He's not sensitive. He just wants the medallion. Like, here's $3,000. Just give it to me. I'm out of here.
I also felt that way though, like when Miriam was tied up and he leaves her tied up from her when we find out she's not dead, which I was surprised by. Although usually I would not be pleasantly surprised by that because I think it lowers the stakes if you find out someone's not actually killed off. But I think it works here. But from Miriam's perspective, both of these asshole men are using her to get the idol or to get the Ark and leaving her to suffer. She has no real reason to have allegiance to one over the other at all.
No, they are, and
Yeah.
I don't mean to be an asshole either, but it's Marion. Sorry.
Oh,
So
sorry.
sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize. I'm so sorry. I don't want to be that good. Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Forgive me. Yeah.
yeah. But, that's just, I don't think the movie paints him as a super good guy all the time. I don't think he
No,
has to be,
he's
you know?
really he's a flawed guy, which is
Yeah.
really why there is this undercurrent of this Indy versus Belloc comparison.
Mhm.
Like who is? I mean, obviously Indy is our hero; he's the good guy. But Belloc, there's a great scene in Cairo where we believe that Marion's dead, and they're at this bar, and I love the way it's shot. Number one, where
Oh,
Belloc's in
yeah.
focus and Indy's in the
So
foreground,
good.
kind of out of focus. And he's really saying that, we're really not much different. There
Mhm.
really is a lot of truth to that. There wouldn't be that much that would tip the scales for Indy to be doing the same thing that Belloc is doing. I think it's very true. And Indy doesn't like it. And
Mhm.
you can see him kind of like grimacing and really angry because he knows he's probably right. And I really love the Belloc character because of this. And not to obviously I'm not spoiling much here, but the one thing that kind of bums me out about this movie with Belloc, because I think Belloc is an incredible character. This would be I'm sad that Belloc dies in the end, even though he probably gets his comeuppance.
Comeuppance, yeah.
Yeah. If Belloc somehow survived this movie, what an amazing opportunity it would have been for Belloc to be a reoccurring character in this franchise, where he probably could have come around and had a redemption moment
Mm.
later on, maybe in the second or third movie or later on, and could have been somebody could have become an ally because it wouldn't take much for Belloc to become a good guy.
Mm.
And I would have loved to have seen, it would have been really interesting to see where Belloc's character could have gone if he survived. Because I don't know if he really deserved to die, because it's the moments like where you see Marion thrown into the Well of Souls in a little bit. I mean, it really pains Belloc. He did not want that to happen. He did not want Marion to die. Even though he probably had some impure thoughts about what he would have probably done with
Yeah.
her. But at the same time, he couldn't rescue her because he'd be dead too. You
Mhm.
know, but I think he's a great character that I wish we could have seen in more movies.
Hmm.
Anyways,
He is a good, and he really is a good character. And I mean, that's a really good point. And he is Indy's like equal in terms of like, skill and talent. It's because, because
he's working for the wrong people.
he's working
Yeah,
for
he's working for the wrong
and of
people.
all the wrong people to work for, he's working for the wrong people.
But this is one of those cases where it's like, I hate him because obviously he's working for the Nazis, but it's like, here's a guy that God, he got in over his head. And maybe in 1934, 1935, he didn't really know how bad the Nazis were. And maybe a lot of people didn't back then. He was naive. He was an ambitious person and just like, oh, they were going to pay me a lot of money to do this. This is not an uncommon story with a lot of people. And he turned the other cheek when like, oh, I don't really believe that they're doing these harmful things. I'm not giving him a pass, but this was not an uncommon thing for people to do in that time, and they didn't really maybe believe what the horrible things Nazis were doing then, and they were stupid to not believe it. But this was not uncommon.
You mentioned, because of the fact that he did die, I'd actually forgotten this, but apparently when he, everyone else's faces melts, but he's holding on to his head and his head just explodes. They actually
Mhm.
went and superimposed fire over
Yeah.
his head exploding
Mhm.
because the movie they said would have gotten an R rating had they not have so the reason
Mm.
he's kind of like he's behind a wall of fire is they were trying to tone down the violence of that a little bit.
Okay.
It's pretty
I loved
shocking.
it. I love
that
the
scene.
explosion. I liked it when the guy
Yeah.
goes, oh, and his face just like the assistant Nazi whose face like
Yeah,
just turns into
Yeah.
like a skull.
yeah.
Well, we
Yeah.
also know
He goes,
we also know what happened to that big dude in the airplane, right? Because they don't show it, but
Yeah.
Oh,
we
yeah.
know that he got.
Yeah. I liked how they did that too with just the blood splatter though.
Mhm.
You're like, oh, yep,
Mhm.
I heard that. I do like that this was made in a simpler time where we just like ubiquitously were like, yeah, Nazis were bad.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Mm-hmm. A couple other scenes I want to mention here. We talked about the map room, great moment. How did Indy get out of the map room? Someone tell me.
Oh, okay, hold on. Because so here's the thing. So John Rhys Davis is like, "Ho, ho, ho," and then he drops the thing. He drops the rope, and
Mhm.
and there's a Nazi flag, and then Harrison is like, "Sala," and wait a minute.
No, because what
Yeah.
happened is he gets Sala
Yeah.
gets approached by two Nazi.
Yes, but I think
Two
he
Nazis.
escapes and goes into like a med tent or something and gets bed sheets and ties them all together. My impression was that he like escaped that and got all these sheets and tied them all together for him.
It's
That's
it's
right.
the
Or
one. It's
something.
one of the few moments in this movie where I was really confused. Where the storytelling is like, I saw the sheets come down with the Nazi flag. At that moment, I thought it was Nazis that were that were getting him out or something. I don't know. It was a
A man,
was a little confused.
but imagine my love of seeing Solo with my whole Lord of the Rings
I
crossover
know.
happening.
John Rhys
It was
Davis, yeah.
incredible. I
Yeah.
love John Rhys Davis.
He is so good. I want to get his album of him just bellowing out tunes. Like where's that? He's got such a great voice.
Oh,
He
God.
tells
Where's
there's
that
somewhere
at?
on YouTube where John Rhys Davis, and it's so
Tales.
embarrassing, but like when everyone was sick in Tunisia, in the most diplomatic way, he was like, and then I did a take for Steven. And I don't know the word that he uses, but he basically like was so ill that during the take, he like he essentially went to the bathroom in his pants, and it was really bad. But the way John Rhys Davis described it, I was just like, oh man, I feel it for you. That Tunisia shoot, I think for all of them
Sounds
was
brutal.
rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I have a Blu-ray, and there's a lot of really great behind the scenes stuff on that. 135 degrees in the sun, 120 in the shade. Watching these people make a movie, all the guys are just like they're just stripped down to like the shorts. And this movie, like it's quite a sight.
If you go back and watch a good amount of 80s action, though, it does just seem like a sweaty time.
Yeah.
There was
Oh,
just
yeah.
a lot of sweaty era for folks.
This is
Well-
the cheesiest thing to think of, and it's so random, and I'll just drop it in. But like, so Harrison Ford is in Empire Strikes Back, obviously with Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill, and they're not kind of like all on the same stardom level, but like in between this and Return of the Jedi, Harrison goes and he shoots Raiders, and then he comes back for Return of the Jedi in the summer of '82, and I just wonder what the dynamic of those three actors was like, where they're like, how was your summer? Because he literally like between Empire and Return of the Jedi, like Harrison Ford like shot up
He
to
also did
bigger
Blade
stardom.
Runner, which wasn't a big hit, but he did
Yeah.
Blade Runner in there too.
Should have been.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's your good friend B's second.
A few other things. Well of Souls. We gotta just talk about the Well of Souls for a moment here.
Fred.
Love the way this begins when it's cracked open and kind of like roars to life. They like broke a seal, but it's problematic because it's not really a sealed off space, as we learn off later on. But I think
Exactly. Well,
they-
they show that it's on like a hill, so like they could have just gone to the side and like found one of those bricks.
A
and
little
knocked them- but it's like,
Deus Ex
whatever,
Machina kind of
Yeah.
thing.
And
That's all right.
conveniently 7,000 snakes are in there. What are they eating? What are they living off of? Don't worry about that. But 7,000 snakes just down.
There were not enough snakes at first, and Spielberg demanded that they get like 2,000 more, and they had like a doctor on the set. And I just love the scene where they're all digging at night, or where it's that sunset, so where they're like, oh,
Yeah, that was really cool.
the hell. I love that song.
Leone. Yeah, it's Leone.
It's
My,
Leone, and it's just, it feels, there's something about the desert sequence, the desert midsection of that movie where it goes beyond just like fun serialized adventure. It gets into epic
Yeah,
territory, like David Lean. I mean, there's a grandiosity to Raiders.
Yeah, there is.
Not Leone.
Yeah.
I meant David Lean.
Yeah, I think it has the opportunity to really stall because it's been so episodic up until then, and it doesn't, which is impressive because it really does. The story really does just plant itself really suddenly for me, some of the best visuals was the thunderstorm building behind them.
I love that.
You know,
Oh,
you
Yeah, that's
really
great.
could, and it looks surreal. You know, I maybe for the time it was a more realistic effect, but now looking at it, it looks surreal and incredible.
no, and Ellie, you talk about like
magical.
people's faces and reaction when John Rhys Davis is looking into the pit and the lightning like lights up that big like dragon face, and John Rhys Davis is like, just so good.
So good.
I really love the comedy in this movie. It's just at some point, and we know that having comedic timing is hard for
Mhm.
Oh,
actors,
yeah.
but these
God,
actors just they were great. They were just funny, just the faces and that guy. It's like over dramatic and got away with it.
And
Like
for some reason, and this is like the dark side of my humor, but I love that moment when they open the ark and Paul Freeman reaches in and it's just sand, and the Nazi bad guy with the glasses to the left of him is just like, he's like, we wasted all this time. We opened this and there's nothing in there. Like that really amuses me for some reason.
Comedy is so important in this movie because otherwise it could be a very dull adventure
Yeah.
film in a lot of ways. But there's so many comedic moments like chasing the basket, the samurai, all these moments. And Ellie, you mentioned the expressions on the faces. What I love is that these expressions, it's never like over the top. It's never
It's
like
not.
hammy or slapstick. It's something true about the reactions to these things, and
Mhm.
that's what I think is really special about this movie.
And I think that, you can't teach that. These actors have to do it on their own. They had to be in that moment. And I don't think Stevens was like, oh, you got to make your face this way. No, it's either it comes or it doesn't, So I
Yeah.
feel like these actors, extras that were in this film that did that, and it's just Molina. It's Molina right at the very beginning.
Yeah.
And I have to give a
Adios, amigo.
quick shout out to two random deaths. One is the guy that falls off the scaffolding during the truck chase, and he looks through the window and he's like, and then when the Nazi bad guy falls off the truck, off the front of it, and then gets run over by it, and you just see him go,
Yeah.
His legs went up in the air, and it's so funny.
I think he was just a stunt man, that guy, if I was reading.
that was, I think it was Glenn Randall.
Was it? Was it an actor?
I think it was no, Glenn Randall, the stunt guy, not an
Yeah,
actor,
okay.
but he was
Yeah.
the stunt guy dressed. He was the guy driving the truck. He was the
Yeah.
stunt guy that was.
Blonde
Yeah.
guy? Yeah. He was great.
Oh yeah.
He gets a moment for a moment. He gets that camera moment where he actually defeats the hero of the film, and he's like, he's driving the truck, and
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
wait, what?
Harrison
really
Ford
loved-
is so expressive because he's driving the truck and then he's like, when he knocks people off the truck, he's like laughing, or when he looks in the rearview mirror and all the Nazis are coming up and he's like, "Ugh." Like
He's
this-
not a very good fighter, though. I had to say, Indiana is not a good fighter. He tries, but he does not. When he throws punches, he just aimlessly, like he just throws them. He doesn't even hit the
Yeah.
person. And I mean, he's a great adventurer and finding things, but not a
Well,
fighter.
that's what makes him great, because he uses whatever means he has. to
Yeah.
win. He's got a gun. He's got a bullwhip. He
Mhm.
uses whatever, the elements to his advantage.
Exactly.
And he's an academic, right? Like he's a nerd.
Really.
Yeah, he's a nerd. He's
Like-
a nerd. He's a nerd.
He's not a soldier. He's a
not.
nerd. And he's just, yeah.
But maybe
have you
maybe
guys-
his being the nerd that he is what gets him out of the situations, right?
I think-
Not his muscles, not the fact
His
that he knows
brain.
how to fight. It's his brain.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the animated movie Atlantis, The Lost Empire?
yes, but it's been
Here's
a
why.
while.
Okay. I would encourage folks to go back and watch it. Milo Thatcher, voiced by Michael J. Fox, is totally Indiana Jones if you were a little more academic. It was going back and watching that, I was like, oh, I get it now. I see. Okay, good.
Interesting.
Few other. I don't have that much more here because we actually talked a lot about the ending already. But this is one really funny small thing I never noticed until this viewing. When they're leaving Cairo and the ark's been put onto the boat, there's a really kind of cute but funny moment where Marion is saying goodbye to Sala, and I really love this. And she says, like, this is one for your wife. I forget her name. She says her name. I think it's his
Mhm.
wife. I'm assuming one. This is for your children, and this one is for him. And he kisses him on his lips. At that
Oh
moment,
yeah.
the boat whistles, and all I could think of was like Wayne's World, like swing. At that very moment, okay, I'm very disturbed, man. Okay,
Yeah.
What happens? Isn't that when he starts singing? He's like, "A
yes,
British sword is a sword of strength."
yes. I never noticed that boat horn going off at that exact moment where she kisses him. But I love that.
I do love that moment. The captain on that boat where they're all looking for Indiana Jones. They're not sure if he's got on the submarine, and he's like, "I see him there." And then the John Williams score, and he's like, "Dun dun dun," and he like Indiana Jones salutes
Yeah,
him
that was really
on the
great.
Nazi sub. You're just like, "Yeah."
So I never knew that there was deleted footage until this week, because there was always kind of a plot hole in this movie. Like, how did Indy get to the island when he swims to the submarine? Because the submarine is submerging, and you don't just like hijack a submarine after it's submerging. There actually is shot footage of him hanging on to the periscope going, through the ocean the whole time. That's how he got to the island. This footage exists.
The
And
footage exists, and I think Spielberg cut it out because he said he thought it looked really kind of cheesy. And there was a line where Spielberg said, "We know that it wasn't explained how he survived being on the
Yeah.
submarine." And he was like, Spielberg literally said something like, "But Indiana Jones is so clever, we kind of just left it up to the audience to imagine."
Well, that's
I've
the
seen that
thing.
footage, and the footage looks like he's in like 5 feet of water holding on to like a pole. It looks like something out of like a National
right.
Lampoon movie. Like it looks kind of
But it almost, we don't have to know because we know that Indiana Jones is going to figure out a way to get out of any situation. So we didn't have to know how he made it through the submarine. We, in our heads, Spielberg has kind of trained us to see Indiana Jones in a way that he doesn't have to show us all the footage because
Yeah.
guess what? It's Indiana Jones. He's going to figure it out. Right.
Right.
So, I mean,
Yep.
trying to become part of the Nazis when he's trying to fit that shirt into, the guard's shirt and he doesn't fit into it. It's like the funniest thing. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't get into it, but yeah. So
And what's actually even funnier is that he's trying to like he's like brushing his hair. He's like trying to communicate with the Nazi guy, and he's just like, I give up, and I just punched him. That's actually kind of like almost like a Han Solo move. I feel like.
yeah.
It reminds me of on the first Star Wars movie where he's in the containment bay or the prison bay where he's like talking to somebody on the intercom.
It does. Yeah.
You might look at that scene, which like, screw, I'm just gonna punch you, you know. So yeah, there's a little bit of a Han Solo moment in there. I don't have really anything else because we talked about a lot at the end of this. Anything you want to mention about the finale here, or should we take a break? Are we good?
It was great.
Well, I love the set. I love the set of the finale. I love that island.
Yep.
When the
Yeah.
and that moment after the arc, like top piece
Oh.
lands, and it's just the two of them there and quiet looking at it. That like got into my dreams and stuff like that. I mean, that there's
Yeah.
something really mystical is like a cheesy word, but I get a feeling
No,
when
totally.
they're the only two people left alive and everyone's gone. It's just the two of them there. It's like,
Mhm.
oh, they were spared
Yeah.
by like the universe, you know?
Yeah. And that final scene of, I think the credits start rolling when it's the warehouse
Oh,
Yeah.
and
I
then
love
being
that. Yeah.
packed away. I literally I felt like I had such conflicted emotions. My heart sank. I was like, this is such a kind of dour, stark
Yeah.
ending to this movie. Oh,
Kind of reminded me of an homage to like Citizen Kane a little bit. I felt like.
yeah.
Yeah. And
Almost
and ultimately the arc has gone from one tomb to another.
To another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I also, there's a part when they're like tied up to the whole thing is happening at the very end when he tells her like close your eyes, close your eyes. It reminds me of part of the story in the Bible where I forget the name of whatever it is, but if you turn back, if you look back, you turn into stone.
that
yeah,
story
yeah.
in the Bible
Yeah.
that it tells you, like, don't look back. 'Cause if you do, I think it was with the
A
child.
pillar of salt, is that it?
Yeah, something like that. Like if you look back, so don't look back or close your eyes and then you
What
won't turn
movie?
into stone.
B, what movie did we just watch where I feel like there was a story about if you look back, that person disappears? Or,
Oh yeah.
Wait, well, there's the Greek mythology of he's someone's leaving the underworld and they're
Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
Oh
that's it,
yes,
yeah.
yes, yeah, and it had that myth in it. Yep.
Huh.
Yeah.
Mhm.
epic.
Yeah. What is that myth? Why can't I think of the myth right now? Okay, no, we can't do that.
By the way, but still, the storage, the warehouse. What a great matte painting.
Oh,
Yeah.
it looks so good. Yeah.
And by the way,
Orpheus.
what else do you think
Eurydice.
is in that warehouse?
Oh, they've got tons of
All
stuff in
kinds
there.
of
yeah.
army stuff. It's just like
They got aliens in
Awesome.
there too. I
Oh,
bet.
there's an alien in there. There's an
Mhm.
alien body in there.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
Ugh. All that work in academia, and no one's gonna know a lot. 5, 9, whatever is,
I love the bureaucrats who are when like at the beginning and like Harrison is like, didn't you guys ever gone to Sunday school? They're like the Ark of the Covenant. But even that scene, Spielberg's framing is so good with just when there's just people saying expository dialogue in a room, the camera angles, the way it's shot still looks great. I'm just like riveted. It's
amazing.
I
Great
thought
blocking.
I thought at one point where he was like they were trying to find going to where the covenant is, to the ark is, and he's dressed like one of the Middle Eastern people, that he would have standing on that hill and be like Moses. And all the people, all the actors would have been like, whoa, and let's not touch this, let's leave it alone.
It's really a Ten Commandments moment. Yeah.
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 All right. Let's take a break and we'll come back with our thoughts on if we're going to save this or not. So thanks everyone for joining our transmission. We truly appreciate you. Contrary to popular belief, we do like people. Don't let the theme of our show lead you to believe that you're not welcome to share your thoughts and opinions on the films we're discussing. If you have seen Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I'm assuming you have, otherwise I don't know where you've been for the last 43 years. Share your thoughts about it and drop us an email at backtotheframerate.com. We may even read it on the podcast. You can also share your thoughts and opinions on our show and films. We discuss on our socials at Back to the Frame Rate. One more thing, if you are enjoying our show, we would love it if we'd be extremely grateful. This is awful. I'm sorry. We'd be extremely grateful if you would take a minute and left a kind review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We thank you in advance. Okay, let's get to the big decision here, whether...
Gee, I don't know. It's a nail biter.
I know. I'll give it 5 stars. This might be the first time we've ever done anything like this.
It's never happened before. It's amazing.
So, Ellie,
This is like the Great Conjunction and the Dark Crystal.
Ellie, what say you?
Say yay.
Yes, we
Yay.
we keep this one. Yeah.
Yes.
All right,
And the vote.
all right. We will keep this one too. I say yes. This movie is quite. Yeah, it's worth keeping.
I'm going to quote John Rhys Davis, and I'm going to go into geek mode. I'm going to be John Rhys Davis from the end of the Fellowship of the Ring. And Gimli, what say you? Should we go hunt some orc, and should we put Raiders of the Lost Ark in the vault?
Yes.
Yeah, this is the easiest yes for me. Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
It is saved. All right. It is so. You guys want to play a quick game?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shall we play a game? Oh,
Been getting this done.
yeah, weird, isn't it? Love to tell about global thermonuclear war. For which you prefer a good game, nauseous. Later.
Wally.
The global thermal nuclear war. Sorry.
It's Wally.
Professor Falcon. It's Professor Falcon.
Where's this from? Is this from Wally?
This is from War Games,
War
1983.
Games.
Matthew
War
Broderick.
Games. Yes, War
War
Games.
Games.
John Badham film.
Yeah, I decided to use that for a bumper for this. Maybe this will be the recurring theme. But instead of doing our typical movie pairings this week, I have a little game here for you guys. And you guys are familiar with the IMDB 250?
Yeah.
Okay, so this might be kind of a little test for you guys. So I was recently looking at the IMDb 250. Of course, Raiders of the Lost Ark is in the IMDb 250. Nobody look at it. No, hey, no cheating.
Okay.
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 All right.
How did you know?
Okay. And we're gonna have a little game. The three of you are gonna play this. I'm gonna be the dungeon master here, and I'm gonna see how good you guys are guessing what movies are in the IMDb 250.
Oh, cool.
What's in it and what is not in it.
I'm gonna lose this game. I already know.
It's okay. Okay.
It's okay.
So I have I think about 16 movies that are in it and 16 movies that are not in it.
Interesting.
this-
I'm
so
so
this-
glad that we don't have to actually know the number. Be like, oh, that's in 42nd place. 'cause
I know. I was
guessing
going
it.
to try and guess what Raiders was at. Okay.
I think
like-
it was. We'll worry about that later. But
I like this game.
so and then after this we'll tally it up and then I'll tell you who wins. So there we go. And
Okay.
then people at home can play along too and then keep track, keep your score. So I'm going to do these pretty quick rapid succession and we'll see how we do. All right. So you ready?
Ready?
All right. Barry Lyndon. Is Barry Lyndon in the top 250?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Ellie?
I don't
Is
know.
it-
No. I don't know. I don't know.
All right.
Kubrick, it's boring.
Is Hacksaw Ridge in the top 250?
Yes.
Sam says
No.
yes.
No.
Ellie says no.
Yes.
Okay. Is Dr. Zhivago in the top 250?
Yes.
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 Has to be.
Yes. I
Yeah.
guess.
Is Mulholland Drive in the top 250?
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
Sam says no.
Really?
Yeah. I would think so.
Ellie says yes.
Can I change my answer on Barry Lyndon? Is it too late? I'll stick with it. It's.
But on Mulholland Drive.
I know. I said yes.
Yes. Yes.
So you're saying Barry Lyndon is a no-B?
Is it no?
Titanic. Is Titanic in the top 250?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is Children of Men in the top 250?
Fuck. I'm gonna say no.
No.
I'm going no on that one.
I'm gonna say yes.
Yes.
Is Monsters Inc. in the top 250?
Yes.
No. No.
This is really hard, actually.
It's hard, but I
No.
don't think so. I don't even know.
Hi.
I don't know.
50-50
Three,
shot.
one. Top 250 films.
Yes.
Yeah,
on
yes,
IMDb
yes.
250.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Is Gone Girl in the top 250?
No.
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 Is Green Book in the top 250?
Probably.
No.
No.
No. I'll just go with the tide there.
Scent of a Woman in the top 250?
Scent of a woman.
Yes.
Yes.
I wouldn't put it on the top 250.
You don't have to.
No.
That's why it's hard because I'm not thinking of my opinions. I'm trying to think of the list, you know?
Right.
No.
I think it might be. I'm gonna go yes. I'm gonna go yes.
Okay. Is In the Mood for Love, the Juan Car
Oh.
film in the top 250?
it fucking should be, but no, I don't think it is.
No.
I'll say no because I'm not too familiar with it.
Is
I think you would love it.
Is adaptation in the top 250?
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Is Joker in the top 250?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is,
I know I'm pumped about that too.
is Top Gun Maverick in the top 250?
Yes.
Yeah. That broke a bunch of box office records, right?
Yes.
Sam?
But you don't mean top two. It's not box. It's not about. It's not numbers.
This is box
It's-
office. This is
yeah.
box. This is like the IMDb 250
Yeah.
popularity.
Yeah.
all right, yeah. Then yeah.
Okay. Is The Terminator from 1984 in the top 250?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone saying yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Stand By Me in the top
Yes.
250.
Yes.
Yes.
Is The Hurt Locker in the top 250?
Oh,
Ooh.
no.
I'm gonna
Flash
say
in the pan.
yes.
Oh. We'll see. We'll see,
Uh,
Cole.
I would say yes too.
Okay.
One day I will
know.
see you on the shores of Linden, Buttersworth.
Is Donnie Brasco in the top 250?
Yeah.
No.
The fuck is it,
Very
Donnie
serious.
Brasco?
Come on.
No,
Why not?
I love it. I
Be.
love it. I love it. But I would be. I don't think it's there. But
Because
that's
it's just
Johnny
so
Depp.
weird.
Johnny
It's a
Depp,
weird
Al
film.
Pacino. Yeah, that's the movie where he's like, I've got dick cancer.
Oh God, I'm just gonna say no. I've never heard of this movie. All I know is it's got Dick Cancer and
All
Depp.
right.
I'm saying yes.
Wise guy don't keep money in a wallet. He keep it in a roll.
Oh
What's that?
God.
It's a
Is-
rare film.
It is
Is-
good though.
Is JFK in the top 250?
Yes.
Yes.
Is Throne of Blood, Akira Kurosawa movie, in the top 250?
I don't know that film, so I would say no.
It's a great movie. I think you'd like it, Ellie. It's like
Really?
good. Yeah, I think you would. IMDb top 250.
Yes.
I bet you it's on some top list, but I don't think IMDb. I'm gonna say no.
I'm gonna say no as well.
Yeah.
Nelly, you say no or yes?
No. No.
No problem. Is Planet of the Apes, the original 1968
Yes.
film, in the top 250?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ellie?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Is Batman Begins in the top 250?
I go yes.
I'm gonna say no.
Yeah. I'm gonna say no too. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think
Is-
so.
Is Groundhog Day in the top 250?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Is Hachi, a dog tale, on the top 250?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yes. It has to be.
I would say no.
I bet you it is. I say yes.
I say yes too.
Is Ford v Ferrari in the top 250?
It
No.
should be. That's my number one
No.
dad movie.
No.
Who loves that movie? But
no.
no, I don't think it is.
Ford versus Ferrari.
Ellie, what did you say?
No.
I'll say.
Matt Damon and Christian Bale.
I'm gonna say yes.
I would.
It's a good movie.
It was a good movie. It was all right, I guess.
We've got a couple left here. Days of Heaven, Terrence Malick.
Terrence Malick.
Days of Heaven.
Yeah, I can see that. That was a big one. Yes.
I don't think I know that film, so no.
I'll say yes to that one.
All right, few more here. Do the Right Thing. Spike
Yes.
Jonze.
Yes.
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 Toy Story.
Yes.
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 Come on.
It's a really fun game.
All right, and let's see here. Magnolia.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Sam says no.
Interesting.
I say yes. I
Yes.
say yes.
I said yes.
Oh, everyone says yes.
I said no. I might be underestimating its cultural significance.
Okay.
I like PTA.
All right.
I am a definite yes on Magnolia.
Me too.
Okay.
Yeah, I
and B
think I
said
said
no.
Tom Cruise.
Frankenstein, the original 1931 Frankenstein.
No. Should it be? Yeah.
I say
No,
yes.
I don't think so. I don't
The
think-
original Frankenstein.
Yep.
scared the shit out of me. Okay.
Yeah, I'm with
Um,
you, girl. Bride of Frankenstein was so good too. Oh my god, if you haven't seen it.
Oh,
Sam?
which
Sam,
one?
did you answer?
Are you guys
Bride.
both no on Frankenstein?
I said yeah.
I'm a no. Alicia.
I don't know if I've seen it, to be honest.
I honestly think Bride of Frankenstein might even be better.
Doesn't matter if you've seen it or not. It's
I know. I'm just trying to. I know, and that's. I have no. I'm gonna say.
Okay. Logan.
Ooh.
Oh,
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Almost done here. For a few dollars more.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I guess I'll say yes.
Oh my gosh, Sam.
Clueless on that one. Yeah.
All right. All right. There's two left here. Rush, the Ron Howard film from 2013. Rush.
Fuck no.
No.
Although I do like it a lot, but no.
It's no Ford v Ferrari.
Yeah.
No.
No around.
And I enjoy that movie, but yeah.
The last one is E.T. the Extraterrestrial.
Oh yes.
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 Hello.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
What about the notebook?
I just picked like a random 16 movies for each category. Okay, so here's the movies that you guys got right, and I may have to edit this a little bit here, but there was actually 17 movies that were in it and 16 that weren't, so I was slightly off. That's okay. So out of those 17 movies that are in the top 250, Sam, you got 12 out of 17 right.
Huh?
Nice.
B, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you got
Ah.
11 right.
Oh, okay. That's what
Yeah.
I got 6.
Yeah.
Ellie, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. So you got 10 right.
Oh, that's funny. We all were one off.
10, 11, 12.
Yeah. I want to know what I got.
Of the 16, I'll get to that in a moment. But of the 16 that are not in it, you only got 4 right, Sam, because you kept saying yes to them. B, you got 6 right in there.
Great.
And you're ahead of Sam. And then Ellie, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 right. So therefore, Ellie, your score is 14. B, your score is 17. And Sam, your score is 16. B, you are our winner. But I will.
It was a close game.
Yeah.
I think the fun thing is here to mention which movies are in the top 250 and which ones
Yes.
weren't. The movies that were in the top 250 are Stand By Me at 2. Now, but I will say one thing here. This list is as of about 10 days ago. So it's possible the ones that are really teetering on the edge could add. There's nothing here that is below 233. So I didn't want to pick anything that was number 250 that could be in and out. So I don't think anything entered in that would bump something out. But Stand By Me is at 232. Ford v Ferrari is at 208.
Look at that.
Terminator is at 218. Toy Story is at 76. Barry Lyndon is in at 186. Hachi, A Dog Tale, is at 233. Logan is at 213. Monsters Inc. is 195. Actually, this is the lowest one, I think. Groundhog Day is at 240. For a few dollars more is at 130. Gone Girl is in it at 190. You all said no on that. Here's the big surprise. Rush is at 228. Yep.
How dare they?
Hacksaw Ridge is at 189. Top Gun Maverick at 141. Batman Begins is in it at 129. Only Ellie got that right.
Yeah.
Green Book is in it at 132. And Joker is at 83. Now, the movies that are not in the top 250, and this was hard for you guys because you guys like to put everything in the top 250.
That's really indicative of how we treat the ball.
It's fascinating because, I picked a lot of American movies that we're all familiar with. There was a lot of foreign films and in indie titles that you'd recognize here. But I wanted to kind of grab popular ones that would kind of lead you astray. Mulholland Drive, not in the top 250.
Wow.
What's wrong?
Magnolia, not in the top 250. Scent of a Woman, not in the top 250.
That's
Planet of the Apes, not in the top 250.
That's really surprising.
That
the-
is.
In the Mood for Love, not in the top 250. The
I
Hurt
don't know.
Locker, and I won't keep saying the same thing over and over. Hurt Locker, Adaptation,
Oh,
Dr. Zhivago. Everyone thought that was in there. Throne of Blood is not. Although I think there's only one or two other Kurosawa movies, but they were pretty obvious. If I went with them, Frankenstein, Days of Heaven, Donnie Brasco, and all of these here you said they were in, except for the last one here.
I said no to Donnie Brasco.
yeah,
Right.
he said no.
I'm
Yeah.
following. So JFK, Do the Right Thing, Titanic, and E.T. None of these are in the top 250.
He didn't make it?
Yeah.
Oh, darn.
Now you
Wait,
look at the IMDb
Titanic's not in the top 250?
No, but if you look at like the IMDb rating, they're like anything that's like above 8.1 and higher is on there. And these are like 8.0 movies or 8.1. They're like teetering right there.
Okay.
Could be next week, anywhere between like up to like 250, 240 or so. Like they could be in there today, maybe like just eking in. But as of 10 days ago, they weren't. And Children of Men
Blasphemy.
is
Yeah.
not. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
E.T. should be, I mean, in the top 250. I mean, I know it's a different metric.
I'm
but, like,
shocked. Yeah.
E.T. Like,
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
this is why,
Yeah.
like, a lot of these. So, what threw me off was a lot of these are on like the Sight and Sound, the BFI top 100 list or something like that.
The age list.
Um,
Actually, E.T. has a 7.9 rating on IMDb. You know, here's the problem. This was just kind of an exercise just to kind of like have some fun.
Yeah.
But this is why we do this, because IMDb is not the be all end all.
no, it's the
We're
metric.
not.
Yeah.
It's
It's a
not.
metric. And it's weighted completely incorrectly because IMDb, you get people that like, oh, I give it a 10 or they give it a 1. There's nobody that gives, very few people give ratings in between. So the
But
rating,
for actors, the IMDb site, a lot of actors think of, can't visit my site, because the higher I guess they say if it's in the green section, you're
Right. That's the star meter. Yeah.
the star meter. And I'm thinking like, it's like you said, Nathan, it's not the end of all things, the IMDb, because it's statistically, I feel like it's wrong because it shouldn't be based on numbers. It should be based on your performances and the actual movies. Like, you got E.T., for example. Like, it's a great film. Like, but didn't make it, right?
Yeah.
So,
it's on our list. So
yeah.
IMDb is probably like the most inconsequential of all lists.
Yes.
I'd say.
There you go. That's a good term.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, so there we go. A little fun game. Maybe we'll do it another thing like that. All right. Well, we're getting close to the end. Anybody want to mention anything that they watched this week, did this week before we wrap it up?
I would just say that I saw, and there's 3 episodes out, but I saw the first 2 episodes of Amazon's Rings of Power season.
Me too.
I think it's improvement over the first season, and I was riveted. I really enjoy it. They're sort of preaching to the choir with me because I'm kind of a built-in audience, but I cannot wait to watch the 3rd episode and continue it. I know it's not perfect, but I really enjoy
I'm happy to be back in Middle Earth.
Yes,
I'm
exactly.
digging it. Yep.
I'm not into that series, but Carlos is, so I couldn't tell you. But
Yeah.
but I did watch 2 films. One is called Kind of Kindness.
Oh, did you like it?
Okay.
I don't know. It was okay, but it was, who is the director? Is the guy from Poor Things. No, it's got funny moments. Weird, really
Not a
weird.
ringing endorsement.
Really weird. I was like, I don't know. I think the pace.
I don't know is the best takeaway
Yeah,
I
I don't know. I don't know. It's the best takeaway. And then the other one that I just watched actually yesterday is called Perfect Days. It's from
Oh,
Jeff.
I love that movie.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
I loved it. And at the end of the movie, you're like, what was the point of this film? Well, the point of this film is that here's a simple man living a simple life, doing his work, doing it well, and just very content with life.
Mhm.
I loved it.
I was genetically engineered to love Perfect Days, and I'm sad that I didn't like. It was not my favorite movie of the year, so I don't know what's wrong with me.
Okay, there's other great winter movies you can go watch.
I know.
You know,
But yeah, those are my two films for this weekend. So
Great.
that's awesome.
Yeah, I don't really have much to add. I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark.
oh yeah, I mean it's something Lost Ark, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah, I know, but I was busy with other things. You know what I did watch today? Because it was today, we're recording this on Labor Day. Not today. Yesterday. I'm sorry, I got my days mixed up. But we had a family movie day yesterday because it was just a lazy Sunday. I rewatched Pete's Dragon, but not the original one from '77. We watched the remake, which
Mhm.
honestly is a good film.
Mhm.
It really is well done. David Lowery directed that. But what I will say is my kids were bawling through that movie
Oh.
because like they're so concerned about Pete and Elliot and like the dragon was gonna die. And like my 7-year-old, she does not get emotional during films, and she was through this. And even my older daughter as well. We almost didn't make it. It was like it's the same thing. Was like, is the dog gonna make it? Like it was like
Mm.
the analogy of like the dog. Like they can't watch
Power of the movies,
they can't
man.
watch dog movies, and if there's a dog in it, I have to like go ahead and see if the dog find out if the dog lives or not. Otherwise, we can't.
Oh, by the way, I bought 2 weeks ago. I bought this new game, board game, and I played it with my family yesterday, and it's fun. It's called Mind the Gap.
Mind the gap.
Okay.
Mind the Gap. Have you heard of it? It's a
No,
trivia.
not
It's a trivia board game. It's like Trivia Pursuit, but
Oh,
it's Mind the Gap. It's about 4 different generations: the Boomers, the Gen X, the Millennials, and the
Whoa.
Gen Zs. So what was fun is that my nephew and niece are Gen Zs. Carlos is
Mhm.
Millennial. I'm Gen X, and we didn't really have a Boomer in our family, but we played the Boomer side anyhow. So much fun. I learned so many things that I didn't know
Yeah.
during the Boomers like years. And it was fun. So check it out. I got it at Barnes and Noble. So it's really fun to watch.
That's awesome.
Back to Framework, you get movie reviews and board game reviews. We cover all pop culture.
I did a rewatch too. I rewatched Boy and the Heron. Oh man, that's a great movie.
That's such a cute movie. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that about wraps up. Would you say we good?
Good.
Good.
So now everyone should tune in next week when we review the next film in this series, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom from 1984.
Nobody tell me anything about it.
No, but I would love you also to maybe share your thoughts on what you think this movie is going to be about before you watch it. Tell us when you're about to start it too, because I want to know.
Sure.
Like a kind of a watch along without watching it with you, but like
Sure.
I can picture it in my head.
I think there's a temple. I think it goes poorly.
I think if this week was an interesting conversation, next week is gonna be something special too. And we have a guest lined up as well, so I'll share that with you after we get off the.
One thing I don't know is where to put my expectations. Like, is this a series where all the movies are great? Is the next one terrible? Or one is like I don't know anything.
That's up for you. I don't want to taint your opinion.
No,
when I
we're not going to
recommend
tell
it.
you.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Well, that is our show this week. Back to the Frame Rate is part of the Weston Media Podcast Network. We also wish to thank Brian Ellsworth for our show opening on behalf of all of us. We bid you farewell from the fallout shelter. Your presence in our underground sanctuary is truly appreciated. We are truly sorry you cannot join us, but we want to express our gratitude for your company. If you're finding solace in our discussions, we kindly ask that you please subscribe and leave a rating or review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whichever portal connects you to our broadcast. There you can find more episodes of this podcast and also on our website, backtotheframerate.com. And on our socials on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Threads. There might be another one in there somewhere. Your support is the beacon of light that brightens our confined space. Until we emerge from the fallout, stay with us, keep hope alive, and keep those reviews coming. This is the end of our transition. Frame Rate signing off.
I want you to know it's over. Well. Bye.